Okay, I think we can start. Can you all hear me well?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Adam Rosman. From now on, I will take the responsibility of handling this meeting. I will be your host, and thank you, Ferouz, for facilitating this meeting for so long. We agreed with Ferouz that I will take up this responsibility from now on. And then let's start with the agenda. So is there anybody else who is new to this meeting and would like to introduce and do some short introduction? Anybody? Okay, then if not, I think we can start with the first point on the agenda. Ricardo has two PRs here, and the message is please have a look at the ironic image build from source PRs. So please.
Just so the first one got actually merged, and I'm going to follow up on that since there are some things that need to be updated. And the second one is just to add the option to build the image from source during testing, basically during runtime of the test. So this one, yeah, this one got merged already. Thanks.
Okay, so this second one is the more interesting because the other is merged. Okay, thank you. The next is Himanshu. Again, another PR, please. Or somebody who is working with him.
Yeah, I think he just needs some reviews, and his PR is ready.
Okay, so PR is at validations for BMO resource name. It is in here for some time now. So please, if you have time, take a look. I've seen people already quite actively working on this. And it's for the bare metal operator. Okay. How then, please?
Okay. Because this PR has not been reviewed for a long time, we hope that someone can review this. If there is no other problems, we hope that the community can agree on the consensus to merge this proposal. We know that this may take a lot of time to review this proposal, and we are very grateful for that. Thank you.
Okay, so I see the long discussion here. And okay, so next one is Orda.
Yes, hi. I wanted to highlight this PR because if more people involved, we will have a better chance to reach consensus. BMC packages are pretty useful for the APIs module, and but ironic packages also uses APIs module, and this creates circular dependency. What I did is here to create a new BMC module, which will be the simplest module and doesn't depend on any other bare metal operator packages, and revert ironic packages to main Go module. I would like to hear more thoughts about it. Thank you.
Okay, I see it's quite a big change, affecting like a lot of files. Is it?
Oh, it's just moving stuff around. That's why it looks big, but it's, yeah.
Okay, and I just wanted to ask that because I see that it is very, very recent, relatively. Is there some related proposal that I could link in the description, or maybe you guys, or is it just like totally fresh, and there was no previous proposal or anything?
Actually, no, there is no proposal.
So it's by itself. Okay, thank you. And that's also like a message for all of you. If you want some reviews and you have some proposal that you made in the past and people already accepted, please put here next to your pull request, because maybe that's easier for others to get to know your PR a bit better. Okay, so then,
Thank you.
yeah, so then if there is no additional discussion related to this, I think it's quite long, so probably nobody will now just start to discuss this. Ferus, please, I see you have a proposal that may be easier to discuss.
Thanks, Adam. So this was a proposal opened like 2 weeks ago, I think. So which is basically introducing a new CRD for in BMO, and the idea was to store only the inspection data or whatever we have currently under the BMH status.hardware. This was originated from one of the issue that we have seen during pivoting, when you have a lot of inspection data, like a quite long, and during the pivoting we copy or we store the data into the BMH metadata annotation, but there is a limit. There's a limit that you can put into that annotation. And then we thought maybe we would just create a new CRD, and then cluster CTL would take care of moving the CRD also to the target cluster, and all this inspection data would be stored in the spec of this new CRD. But apparently there was another issue that we realized during this review process, is that only the status.hardware is not enough for BMO to avoid another provisioning on the target cluster. It also needs some other information apparently, and namely that's also the status.provisioning field. So this there are a couple of fields, I don't recall it, but those are also needed. And I've tested that in BMO. I have a test PR in there. Maybe I'll just link it later on here. And that worked. So then I asked it for like, how can we move forward with this? And I got some reviews. Thanks a lot, Zain and Kashif, for the quite intense review. So what I was thinking right now to do is maybe we still go with the CRD as it is right now, as proposed here. But the only change would be is that we don't drop the idea of status annotation. We still keep that, as Zain also suggested. So in that case, what would happen is that on the target cluster, we kind of could fetch the inspection data, for example, from the CR, but the rest we could maybe restore from the status annotation. And I believe the rest of the information apart from status.hardware is not really big enough. It's very tiny data that we have in there, which won't cause the issues with the metadata limitation, data limitation. So yeah, if you have time, please take a look. I should update the proposal today and ask for another round of reviews. And if you have any thoughts on this or objections or ideas, please just share that on the pull request. I would appreciate that. Yeah, that's more or less from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Feruz, and please, as it is a proposal, everybody feel free to ask here. I will note down the questions, and maybe that speeds up the process a bit.
Yeah, if anyone has question, I'm happy to answer here now.
Nobody. Let's check the chat. Okay. I see that a few minutes ago there was actually some discussion in the chat. If guys, you feel that you want to discuss a previous PR, please, which one, and we can go through it, because I see that there was some discussion in the chat.
Yeah, that was about moving the code around, because actually there are a few people here who are familiar with that, and it's like probably the simplest PR that is listed on the document today.
This one, right?
Probably also the biggest. Yeah, hold on, I lost your screen. Create new BMC model, yeah, from Arda.
Yes. Okay.
So you don't have to read it line by line. It's just git mv for a lot of files. I guess the core question is for us. Arda and Zane, as far as I understand, wants to move most of the code back to where it used to be in. Sorry, I'm being really slow today. In the controller. I kind of have feelings about this because I would love us to start the structure code more actively and draw clearer lines in the BMO code, because I remember when I started in BMO, it took me a lot of time to figure out all the data flows, because everything is pretty much just inside the controller, and there's basically no structure, just a lot of functions. So I don't know, but would love to hear from folks what their thoughts are, and maybe there are some blockers to doing that.
So I think clearer lines are good, but like separate Go modules are a big hammer. Like it's you use them when you really need to isolate dependencies, because you might be importing it into somewhere that has conflicting dependencies. That's really the only reason to go for a separate Go module. Separate packages, fine, yeah. Make as many as you like.
Yeah, I'm not ignoring it, I'm just thinking.
I've actually neglected to. So, like if you have a suggestion for some way that we could decompose the packages more without necessarily having separate Go modules, that would be certainly worth taking into consideration. But the BMC stuff really needs to be in a separate module because it's needed by the API, or it would be useful in the API for doing validation. But if we have to import the whole main Go module into the API module, then there's no point in having a separate API module. Like we did that because other projects who need to embed the API don't want to be doing dependency, resolving dependencies with everything that we depend on. So because that causes problems with conflicts.
Yes, I think there will be no objections about creating a new BMC module, and APIs will use it. But my main problem is Ironic stay as a separate module, or we are going to revert Ironic packages back to the controller. This is unclear part for me, actually.
So controller is probably not the most helpful description here, but it's, yes, I think, again, I haven't looked at the patch recently, but I think it's reverting it back to the main Go module. I know, like, the reason this came up is because there was some suggestion of including some of the ironic code in the ironic Terraform provider, which I personally think is horrific for other reasons, but notwithstanding that, I don't think it's not actually required, I don't believe, to have a separate Go module for that. Like, there's no evidence of any conflicts for that. So, like, again, by all means, put it in a separate package, organize the code better, but I don't think it needs a Go module for that, unless there's some information that I'm not aware of.
Since I created the ironic module, my first attempt is really, as Dimitri suggested, create an intermediate level between the ironic and our controller. But the current structure is, honestly, I don't like. Some of the ironic packages stay main Go module and some of them go to the ironic module. This, I think, hurts the readability, and I think we can revert ironic packages back to main Go module until the day we remove the provisioner dependencies and will be able to create new ironic module.
Okay, I think I understood where it's coming from. I think that removes my objections.
So if I understand, there are no objections from anybody regarding this, right? Okay. Are you guys satisfied with the discussion? Can we go forward?
Yeah, that's good from my side. Thank you.
Okay. So we have seen Feruz's proposal. Then please take a look. And I see the last point is here, Michael. And please, Michael.
Yeah, so I just want to say hi. And I sensed on this pull request there was maybe a bit of frustration from Andrew and Zane. And I wanted to sort of try and understand where that was coming from. So I made a couple of suggestions, which may or may not be good suggestions on this pull request, on this draft pull request, to perhaps put this behind a feature flag or some configuration option, and perhaps also to have a change proposal so I can understand this change a bit better and communicate the need for it to my users. I sort of got a response along the lines of, this has already been decided, I'm changing the direction of what's been decided, and you know, I should make my own change proposal if I want my own change proposal, or that there's a bug, a deficiency in the current implementation, and that if I don't like it, I should stick to an old release and stop following main. So I sense frustration here. I wanted to fill in a little bit more about.
Sorry, I had to interrupt you, but
yes,
when I said nobody's obliged to chase main, I didn't mean you should never upgrade again. I meant,
okay,
like, while work is in progress, you're not necessarily updating to the latest every day, so you can wait for it to stabilize before you take it. Hopefully, that's
understood. Yeah, I sort of wanted to just give a bit more background why I'm interested in this pull request at all. So Jan, who worked on the remediation controller proposal and the remediation controller implementation, he's moved on to greener pastures, and he doesn't work on the Metal3 project anymore.
So I've been trying very recently, only the last couple of days or so, to push through his last few pull requests and actually try and get some testing around the remediation controller, because at the moment there isn't any, as far as I can see. To do that, I thought I had to go back and read what the proposal was all about, and I've tried to read that and follow it as closely as I can. I just want to say I don't want to impede any of the improvements which are coming in from Red Hat on this at all. And I would be very happy to work with you on making this fix as good as possible. I would really appreciate a few more details so I can send them to my users about what's changing. And hopefully I'll also have some unit tests and feature tests. I'm trying to get them merged at the moment so that this feature is a bit better protected and a bit better tested. I think that's all I want to say.
Okay, so I think some of the confusion here comes from the assumption that Red Hat people all know what we're doing and we're all talking to each other. But in actual fact, like the stuff comes from different groups. So Andrew and Nia kind of designed this mechanism upstream in Cluster API and kind of implemented the first version in OpenShift. Mark has been asked to come along and kind of add support in CAPM3 because we're moving to Cluster API. And I work in a completely different group from any of those people. And kind of, I'm familiar with the stuff because I reviewed it. I reviewed all the parts in OpenShift at the time. But I don't actually work directly with any of those folks. And everyone's in a different time zone. So like, it's really hard to communicate kind of across time zones. So what happened here was when Jan made the initial proposal, Nia suggested that we should be doing this, deleting the node, which is something we do in OpenShift. It's like kind of necessary, in my opinion, to actually make it fail over. Like it will take 5+ minutes for your applications to fail over, in which they're just not running if you don't do this. So that's bad. We want to do like live migration of KubeVirt VMs and stuff, like, and you're just sitting there with no service for like 5 minutes if you don't delete the node. So that's the reason for it. So what happened was, at the time Jan initially implemented this, Nia suggested that we do that. I don't know what the story was on Jan's side. Like, I think possibly he was in a hurry to get something implemented, and he said, let's defer that discussion to later. And then Nia and Andrew's group, who's kind of not super involved with upstream Metal3 as much as our group is, their attitude was basically, okay, upstream doesn't want this, so we'll propose a separate strategy, and then we can use what we want and upstream can use what they want, and then everyone's happy. And it was at that point that I stepped in and said, wait a minute, like, we shouldn't be forcing users to say, do you want the broken strategy or the not broken strategy? Like, that's, you know, just because we couldn't be bothered having an argument about how it should work. So I approached Jan about that, and he said, yes, fine, go ahead. And so at that point, everyone was under the impression that there was no disagreement. And so Mark was told to go ahead and just implement it in the current strategy. And now it seems at this point there is some, if not disagreement, then lack of understanding. And I completely agree with you that this would be much better if there were a change proposal describing what's actually happening.
Thanks. Yeah, it sounds like there's been a long history on this issue, and the first reference I could find to deleting the nodes went back well over a year. So I can understand if machines have been sitting around taking 5 minutes to remediate when it could be a lot faster. It's frustrating. having a few more details about the history here of change proposal, just so I can ping that around to some of my users this side, and then anything I can do to help out with this this PR. I can be pinged on community Slack or on the PR. I'll try and be helpful. Yeah, so that's all. Thanks very much.
Yeah, so I mean, from the Red Hat side, like, we don't care because we're currently running on a fork of CapM3 from like 2 and a bit years ago. So like, as far as we're concerned, our fork works fine. But we want to get off a fork. We want to be back on upstream stuff, and so that's kind of why that group is now pushing to get that change into upstream.
Understood.
But yes, I agree. Like, that more documentation would be helpful because yeah, it's a very specialized subject, remediation. So it's always good to have more explanation.
Okay, do any of you who now just discussed this have something that I can add additionally here under the existing notes? Because if not, then I think we are at the end of the meeting, and I just like to ask you if somebody has something that's not listed on the agenda and want to discuss it. Let me check the chat quickly. I don't see there anything. Anybody? Because if not, then I thank you all, and I will end the meeting and have a nice day, everybody. Thank you for participating.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks very much, Adam. Bye.